This is the Relic Radio Show, old-time radio entertainment still standing the test of time from relicradio.com. This is the Relic Radio Show. Thanks for joining me this week. First story this time comes from our old pal, the Whistler. We'll hear the Cistern, his story from December 10th, 1945. After that, it's The Avenger and the Thoroughbred Murders, his story from September 7th, 1945.
The Signal Oil Program, The Whistler. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil Program, The Whistler.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
Yes, friends, it's time for the Signal Oil Program, The Whistler. Rated by independent research, the most popular program on the West Coast. Remember, let every traffic signal remind you. With new Signal gasoline, you do go farther than ever. Look for the familiar big yellow and black circle sign that identifies those popular Signal service stations in 7 western states from Canada to Mexico. And now, the Whistler's strange story. The Cistern.
There was murder on Ronnie Hartfield's mind long before he discovered the Cistern in Round Valley. But the discovery, more than anything else, made him decide to do it. The groundwork had been laid, of course. He was a partner with old Hank Murphy in the gold-bearing ledge Hank had discovered on the shoulder of Sharp's Peak. $1 million in rich ore. And Ronnie owned 10% of it. That wasn't bad for a young metallurgist fresh out of college. But Ronnie wasn't the kind to think of his own 10%. No, his mind was on the other 90, and the inheritance clause in the partnership agreement. There had to be other things, of course, like the casual conversation he had one afternoon with Sheriff Dawson as they sat on the porch of the sheriff's office, looking across the lake.
But that ain't what makes a law enforcement out here so much tougher than in the city. What's the first job in a murder case, for example? Find the body.
Body?
Yeah. Look at that lake. Look at that, Ronnie.
What?
The sun on that water.
If I could move that lake to the coast, I could sell it for $1 million.
Come around sometime during a rainstorm, and I'll close the deal for 10 cents.
Why?
Well, she ain't a natural lake, you know. Well, we've had to move this shack twice now when the water was right up the floor level. She ain't always as pretty as she looks now, blue and calm and shiny.
I don't know. I think it's worth it.
Well, you'll be a mountaineer yet, Ronnie. What was I saying a while back?
You were talking about law enforcement.
Oh, yeah. It was this business of bodies. You can say all you want to about city police, but let me tell you, they ain't in it with a county sheriff when it comes to a murder case.
No?
You see, before you do anything else, you gotta find the body. Gotta prove the guy's dead.
Yeah.
That's one thing in the city, but it's something else in a place like this.
Oh, what do you mean?
Or down in Arizona, for instance, where a man's got 20,000 square miles of country to hide the body in.
I see.
Funny thing, though, how bodies have a way of turning up. That guy in Arizona I was telling you about.
Yeah?
8 years it took us, knowing all the time he done it.
You found it, huh?
Yeah. The wind uncovered it in a dry gulch 10 miles from town. Dry air has a way of preserving things.
You could identify it?
Sure, we hung him.
Oh. But if it hadn't been for that wind...
Well, it would have been something else. Sometimes it don't pay to go looking for it. If you just lean back and relax, it'll work itself out. Sometime.
Well, Ronnie, it's odd that the sheriff should have hit upon the subject of bodies. And it's a good thing he couldn't read your mind, because everything he said made you think of the Cistern in Round Valley, with the bare traces of a ruined cabin more than 100 years old nearby. You'd been exhausted the day you found it, after following a 4-point buck down the length of the ridge above and losing him there in the willows. Then, as you fought your way through the brush, your foot suddenly rang hollowly on the cover of the cistern. And there it was, deep and dark, completely lost in the tangled mass of trees. No desert wind there, was there, Ronnie? Once you dropped Hank into the cistern, he'd be there for keeps.
Ronnie.
Huh? Oh, sorry, Hank.
You know what, Hank? I think Ronnie's in love.
Well, what's the matter?
I just been talking to you for 5 minutes, that's all.
Oh, I was thinking, I guess.
Just like you, Hank. Comes into my store to buy groceries and goes to sleep by the stove.
He's thinking about that hole in the ground.
What?
What's the matter? Marge knows all about it, mine.
Oh, yeah.
You picked yourself a pretty good partner, Ronnie, if that ledge is as good as Hank says it is.
Even Stephen. I got myself a good metallurgist, too. What with a stamping mill to be built and all. This ain't no pick and shovel project, you know.
Gonna take money.
Oh, don't worry about that. We got that all settled, ain't we, Ronnie? Soon's Mr. Coulter sees the plans Ronnie made up.
Who's Mr. Coulter?
Oh, fella down the city, old friend of mine. I'm going down below to see him next week.
Alone?
Yeah. Ronnie thinks he better stay around and look after things.
Uh-huh.
What's the matter?
Don't know about Hank alone in the city with all them saloons.
Oh, go on, Marge.
Well, last time Hank went down for a weekend, nobody saw hide nor hair of him for 6 months. If we didn't know him better, we would have thought he was dead. Oh, my. Better keep a close tab on him, Ronnie.
You're right. I'd better.
You're pretty close to the brink, aren't you, Ronnie? The cistern was in your mind then, too. And it keeps returning more and more frequently until it excludes almost everything else. Particularly at night, when there's no sound but the crickets outside. And you can lie awake and think of the ledge. $1 million or more in gold ore, almost on the surface. 1/10 of it yours, according to the agreement. Unless, of course, something should happen to Hank. It would be all yours then, wouldn't it, Ronnie? $1 million. And that kind of thinking always leads to the cistern and the willow thicket at Round Valley. There's no possible way they could ever discover it, is there? Finally, on the night before Hank is scheduled to leave, you make up your mind.
Hank?
Yeah?
I just ran onto something.
What?
I want you to come with me.
Well, what are you talking about?
I've been up to Round Valley all day.
Well, what were you doing up in that godforsaken place?
I got a new outcrop, Hank. I'm sure of it.
What? In Round Valley? Why, there's no
But
gold.
there is. You've got to see it before you go down to the city.
Whoa, wait a minute. This ain't a joke, is
I
it?
tell you, there's gold up there. I'm serious. Look, it'll only take us about 2 hours.
Tonight? Why, it's dark already.
Listen, will you believe me? This can't wait.
Okay, Ronnie, let's go. Hold the light up, Ronnie. I can't see where I'm going.
It's not much farther.
Why didn't we come up the other ridge? I don't see no sense in cutting across this infernal willow thicket. Wait up, will you?
Over this way.
Where are you?
Can't you see the light?
No. Went out of something. Ouch. Oh, these darn trees. I can't see a thing, Ronnie. Oh, doggone it. Where's the light, Ronnie? I can't keep my feet in this brush. Ronnie, where are you? Ronnie!
Here I am, Hank.
Oh, you... You scared me.
Here's the light, Hank.
Huh? Thanks. Oh!
Now, the cistern.
prologue of tonight's story, The Cistern, Signal Oil Company is bringing you another strange story by The Whistler. There's an old Hindu fable about the blind men and the elephant. Being unable to see an elephant, these blind men decided to feel one to determine what an elephant is like. Well, the first blind man, happening to grasp the elephant's ear, promptly exclaimed, "Why, an elephant is like a large leaf." But the second blind man, wrapping his arms around one of the elephant's huge legs, protested, "Oh, no, an elephant is like a tree trunk." And the third man, feeling the elephant's tail, shouted, "You're both wrong. An elephant is like a rope." Well, all three were right, but only partly right. And I'm always reminded of this story when I hear a motorist say, "Signal gasoline is outstanding for quicker starting." Or another say, "Signal is tops for faster pickup." Or a third say, "New Signal has higher anti-knock." Now, all three are right, but only partly right. For in New Signal, you get all three advantages: quicker starting, faster pickup, and higher anti-knock. But in addition, there's a bonus of extra mileage. For because of the amazing power in Signal's new super fuel that helps you get this greater efficiency, this extra performance from your motor, you actually go farther than ever with New Signal gasoline. And now, back to the Whistler.
Yes, Ronnie. It took a combination of things to put the murder of Hank Murphy in your mind. The ledge on Sharp's Peak and $1 million in raw gold. The sheriff with his idle discussion on the importance of finding the corpus delicti. Marge's contribution about your partner's habit of disappearing for months at a stretch. But most of all, it was the cistern in the willows of Round Valley. The hiding place 1,000 men could hunt for without ever coming close. That was the most important thing, wasn't it, Ronnie? And it's the thing that makes you feel absolutely secure now, on the morning after you killed him, as you walk into Marge's general store.
Morning, Ronnie.
Hello, Marge. Now, wait a minute. If you're going to ask me how I am, the answer is awful.
What's the matter?
Coffee, no coffee. Forgot to pick it up last night.
Yeah, I missed you.
Missed me?
Mostly Hank. He's picked up his groceries on Tuesdays and Fridays for as long as I've been here. Well, what'll it be, a pound?
Yeah, that'll do. Fine.
Funny thing about Hank, he's an old galoot in lots of ways, but part of him is regular as clockwork.
His drinking arm, for one thing.
Yeah, and getting his grub for another. Last night, when he didn't show up, I says to myself, there's something wrong somewhere. You say you ain't had breakfast yet?
No.
Hank's probably cussing you out for fair, waiting for his coffee at this hour. Drunk or sober, he gets his breakfast at 7 o'clock.
What do you mean?
Ain't he waiting up in the cabin?
No, he's gone.
Huh?
Yeah, he left for town this morning.
Why, he wouldn't do that.
Huh? What?
Go off like that without... Tell me, what time did he leave?
I don't know. When I woke up, he was gone.
Well, that's a funny one. He swore on a stack of Bibles he'd take a package down to my niece in Sacramento.
Oh, he had a few drinks. Probably forgot.
Well, where'd he get the liquor?
Why, I suppose he had it in the house.
He didn't have a drop in the house. He told me yesterday when he came in here and tried to buy some. We were out, too. Far as I know, there wasn't a drop in town, and none come until Monday.
Oh.
Say, how'd he get out of town?
The 6 o'clock bus, I guess.
You know, I can't help feeling there's something fishy somewhere.
Huh? Why?
Well, there wasn't no 6 o'clock bus this morning. It's still at Kramer's bar with a broken axle. Say.
What?
You don't suppose old Hank sprouted himself a pair of wings, do you?
I wouldn't put it past him.
You can't beat that old varmint. I told you keeping a tab on him was no sin. It's funny, though, ain't it?
What?
About that package for my niece. Hank never done a thing like that, long as I can remember. Forgetting that away. You know, that's not like Hank at all.
Ronnie, you're not whistling now as you cross the street to the bank. You keep telling yourself that Marge is an old busybody, that the rest of the town will chuckle over Hank's unceremonious departure. There's a forced self-assurance about you as you walk up to Mr. Jenkins at the teller's window.
Hello, Mr. Jenkins.
Hi, Ronnie. What can I do for you this morning?
How about $20?
Okay.
All right. There you are.
10, 15, and 5 is 20. Say, what about Hank?
Huh?
Ain't he supposed to leave today?
Oh, he left this morning.
Hmm?
Yeah?
That's funny.
What's the matter?
What do you use for money?
Why, he had the money.
No, he didn't. He come in here yesterday afternoon after 3 and told me he didn't have a dime. Wanted me to open up so he could draw $200 for the trip.
Well, what do you know about that?
He didn't pick it up either.
Pick it up?
I got it from him just before closing and left it at the express office. Now, ain't that something? You couldn't have gone down without money.
Maybe that's why he borrowed $100 from me.
Huh?
That's why I came in this morning. He took all I had.
Now, wait a minute, Ronnie. Are you kidding me?
No, why?
Hank never borrowed a dime in his life. It's kind of a religion with him.
Oh, I suppose since I'm his partner...
Not Hank.
Well, he didn't have much choice leaving this morning.
I told him the money'd be waiting at the express office. Ain't that one for the book? Never heard tell of Hank borrowing. Just not like him, that's all.
You're beginning to thank your lucky stars for the Cistern, aren't you, Ronnie? During the next few days, the town's curiosity about Hank doesn't die down. It changes first into wonderment, then into genuine worry. There's a feeling in the air that something is wrong. It hangs over the town like a cloud. And as the days go by, you begin to notice the conversation suddenly hushed as you approach, the penetrating, curious glances, the feeling of terrible doubt. Then, just a week after Hank's disappearance, you come home to the cabin to find the sheriff waiting for you.
Oh?
Hello, Ronnie.
Oh, hello, Sheriff. What do you want?
Just dropped by to say hello. Getting a mite worried about Hank.
Yeah, so am I.
Are you?
What do you mean?
Nothing. Curious, ain't it, how a man can get out of town without transportation or money?
He had money.
Maybe. And maybe he could have got liquored up without liquor, too.
I don't know where he got that.
Kind of jumpy, ain't you?
Well, I'm getting sick of this talk, all this insinuation behind my back.
Nobody's insinuating, Ronnie. We're just a mite worried, that's all.
I tell you, he's probably in San Francisco right now.
That's just it. He ain't. Just picked up this wire from the telegraph office. Take a look.
Huh? Been expecting Murphy for a week. Where is he? Colder. Whoa. He's probably in some bar down there.
No.
What do you mean? He used to disappear for months at a time.
You just don't know Hank. If there's money mixed up in it anywhere, there ain't a soberer man in the county.
You're crazy. Hank was a drunk, and you know it.
Was?
I mean, he is.
Ain't it funny that you and I were talking about murder cases just the other day?
Now, listen here. I have...
Better see who it is.
Hank Murphy live here?
Yeah?
They told me down at the hotel that the sheriff was up
What do you want?
Send him in, Ronnie.
Come on in.
You the sheriff?
Yeah, what is it?
I just happened to say something down at the hotel tonight, and they told me you might be interested. I was driving through here the other morning on my way to Sacramento.
What morning?
Friday.
Okay.
I picked up a guy on the road about 6 o'clock.
What did he look like? Did he have on
Just a minute, Ronnie. Tell us what he looked like, son.
Oh, I'd say about 55. Kind of bald up here with gray hair and a mustache. I think he was kind of drunk. Said the bus wasn't running.
Do you have a suitcase?
Yeah. And I think he was wearing a black suit.
I see. 6 o'clock last Friday morning, huh?
Yeah, I took him down the road a ways. Let him off at the Sacramento highway.
Satisfied, Sheriff?
Might be. Like I was telling you, Ronnie, sometimes it don't pay to get all worked up over these things. They have a way of solving themselves sometimes. Well, I better be getting home. Looks like we're in for a storm.
You have a lot of time to think during the next few days, haven't you, Ronnie? With the storm pounding around your ears, forcing you to keep close to the cabin. The nervous feeling inside is almost gone now, thanks to that boy who just happened to pick up an old hitchhiker at the right moment. That was a lucky break, wasn't it? Most of the townspeople are satisfied now that Hank is off somewhere on another spree. And you finally feel it's time to call again on Mr. Jenkins at the bank.
As a matter of fact, Mr. Jenkins, I'm beginning to wonder about Hank. It's been more than a week now.
Yeah, it is funny. Him hitchhiking out of town that way. Listen to that. Bet we've had 10 inches of rain in this storm. Lake level's up 12 feet. Wouldn't surprise me if the sheriff had to move his office again. And now, let's see, you wanted to look over the agreement between you and Hank.
Yes, you see, there's a lot to be done before winter sets in. We ought to settle that business with Mr. Calder, get our materials up to the site.
And you're wondering if you can go ahead.
Yeah.
Looks as if Hank's in the driver's seat. Long as he's alive, anyway. Of course, in case of his death, you'll take
I didn't mean that. All I meant was we're losing a lot of time.
Sure. I know you didn't mean that. Well, guess you gotta wait till Hank shows up, Ronnie. Put this away now. Getting kind of tired of looking at it. Sheriff was just in an hour ago asking the same question.
What?
Yeah. He wanted to know about the 10% and the 90% and who got what when, who died.
He got no right to stick his nose in my business.
Funny about the sheriff. Seems to think this is his business now. Maybe you better go see him.
That's a good idea.
Well, Ronnie, kind of wet for you to be running around, ain't it?
That doesn't seem to bother you, does it, Sheriff?
That lake's beginning to bother me, I'll tell you. Look at her down there, 20 feet away.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Well, sit down on the porch here and tell me what's eating you.
Let's go inside.
Nothing doing. I want to keep an eye on that lake. Now, what's the matter?
When are you going to admit you're wrong?
About Hank?
Yes.
Well, I'll likely admit I'm wrong on the day that Hank walks up to this porch like he used to and says, "Howdy, Sheriff. Have a cigar." Trouble is, that ain't never going to happen. So I reckon I ain't never going to admit I'm wrong. That answer your question?
He left town. Didn't that kid satisfy you?
Nope. Could have been someone else.
Who?
Don't know. Too bad no one had a picture of Hank.
Don't you see what you're doing with your stupid guessing? They all think I killed him. Well, what?
They're right, ain't they?
They're wrong, I tell you. He was gone when I
Now,
woke...
wait a minute, Ronnie. Hank was nothing more than a hunk of clockwork. He never went off his schedule. You just didn't know him well enough. That's why I know you killed him, Ronnie. I know why, and I think I know how. But just like I told you, when it comes to finding a body, a county sheriff has a job on his hands. And, of course, we can't do nothing till we find the body.
I tell you, you've got no right to
Take
talk...
it easy, son.
Now, wait a minute. If you're trying to bluff me, it won't work.
I ain't bluffing, Ronnie. You see, all the time you and Hank were supposed to be inside your house having a few drinks before he took off, the house was empty, wasn't it? Because you happened to be off somewheres killing him at the time. I happen to know, because I dropped by at 10 o'clock to deliver Marge's package. Don't worry, though. I can't do nothing until I find the body, and like I told you, that takes time.
Oh, no.
8 years, that time in Arizona, but we got him the day after that windstorm. County sheriffs just got to have patience, you know. Matter, Ronnie?
Nothing.
You're white as a sheet. What you looking at?
Nothing, I tell you.
You sick?
It's all right. Oh, it's all wrong. Something's haywire somewhere.
What are you staring at?
Good Lord.
Why, it's...
Do you see it, too?
In the water. The edge of the lake. It's Hank's body.
No, it's not. It can't be.
Come on, let's take a look.
No, it can't be.
I said come on. Ronnie?
It is, Hank.
The Whistler will return in just a moment with the strange ending of tonight's story. Meantime, with reconversion occupying the spotlight today, here are some facts I think you'll be interested in. You know, of course, the vital role that independent businessmen played in the building of America. And you know that today more and more men are expressing a desire to get into business for themselves. But did you know that my sponsor, Signal Oil Company, has for over 14 years sold its products only through independent businessmen, substantial, responsible men who are so earnest about their business of serving the motoring public that they're willing to invest their own money in it. Naturally, signal dealers are carefully chosen for their ability and integrity, which explains why the average dealer has been with Signal Oil Company over 7 years. So you see, there's a good reason why you find more conscientious, experienced men operating signal stations, and why signal dealers, with an incentive to build their own business, naturally give your car more thorough service that does help it go farther. And now, back to the Whistler.
It's too much, isn't it, Ronnie? Too much after the tension of the past week to look down at Hank's body floating at the edge of the lake right under the rail of the sheriff's porch. Everything breaks loose at once. You're jabbering like an idiot, telling the sheriff it's impossible.
Oh, don't lie to me. You found him, didn't you? You found him and brought him here. It was a plot, wasn't it?
Wait a minute, Ronnie.
Well, why did you have to drag it out? You knew it all the time. You just wanted to torture me.
Shut up.
Listen, I don't have...
Shut up. That's better. Now, what in thunder are you talking about?
Somebody brought him here. I put him in the cistern.
Cistern?
In Round Valley in the willows.
Cistern in Round Valley? There ain't no such
Yes,
thing.
there is, in the willow thicket that runs along the bottom.
Wait a minute. Did it have a square wooden cover on it?
Yeah.
Huh.
What's that mean?
Looks like you sent Hank back to us special delivery, Ronnie.
What?
It was dry, of course, until this rainstorm. It was dry when you put him in it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You see, it ain't a cistern, Ronnie. It's an underground water flume.
What?
A water flume. Carries the water underground from the upper lake to this one. When she overflowed up above, the water just picked up Hank and delivered him right to my door. Like I said, Ronnie, sometimes it just don't pay a county sheriff to get all excited and go running over the hills. It pays to just lean back and wait sometimes.
Next Monday at 9 o'clock, The Whistler will bring you another strange tale. The Whistler is broadcast for your entertainment by the marketers of Signal gasoline and motor oil and fine quality automotive accessories, and by your neighborhood Signal dealer. This program, produced by George W. Allen, with tonight's story by Harold Swanton, music by Wilbur Hatch, is transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler. This is Marvin Miller speaking, reminding you to look for those familiar yellow and black circle signs that identify those popular Signal Oil stations in 7 western states from Canada to Mexico. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
The Avenger.
The road to crime ends in a trap that justice sets. Crime does not pay.
The Avenger, sworn enemy of evil, is actually Jim Brandon, a famous biochemist. Through his numerous scientific experiments, Brandon has perfected two inventions to aid him in his crusade against crime as the Avenger: the telepathic indicator, by which he is able to pick up thought flashes, and the secret diffusion capsule, which cloaks him in the black light of invisibility. Brandon's assistant, the beautiful Fern Collier, is the only one who shares his secrets and knows that he is the man the underworld fears as the Avenger. And now, The Avenger and the Thoroughbred Murder. A group of weekend guests are gathered at the racecourse on George Felden's elaborate country estate.
Oh, this is going to be a very exciting weekend, Jim. Just imagine having our pick of George Felden's famous thoroughbreds to ride.
It'll be a treat, all right, Fern.
And that stagecoach race at the fair tomorrow. That should be something to see.
Oh, it will be. The idea of having women drivers is quite a novelty. Come over to the rail, Fern. Rosalind Burke is going to give George Felden's coach and four a workout. She's going to drive his coach in the race tomorrow.
Jim, do you think Rosalind has a chance to win? I don't think she looks strong enough to handle that team.
Well, I'll be able to answer that better after I've seen what kind of showing she makes on this practice run.
Well, Brandon, how much are you willing to put on Rosalind to win the race tomorrow?
Whether she wins or not, Eddie, she'll get reams of publicity out of it. I take it that was the idea behind the whole thing.
Of course. An actress always needs publicity, you know.
But I thought Rosalind retired from the stage 2 years ago, when she married William Burke.
A great actress never retires, Fern, and Rosalind is a great actress.
Yes, I saw several plays in which you two were co-stars.
And you'll see our name in lights again, Fern, if I can talk some sense into Rosalind. Eddie Woods and Rosalind Dale. That combination still has a draw.
Oh, George is bringing the coach up to the starting line. She'll be ready to go in a minute.
Oh, I'll see you later. I want to time this.
Eddie Woods is certainly anxious to get Rosalind back on the stage, isn't he?
And with good reason. He hasn't had a play since she retired to marry Burke. But I think he's wasting his time. Burke is set against Rosalind, going on with her career.
Yes, Mr. Burke seems to hate the theater and everyone connected with it.
The coach is ready to start. Watch this, Fern.
Okay. Here she comes.
Let him out, Ron.
Oh, good heavens, Jim, look at her go.
Yes, we don't need to worry about her being strong enough to handle that team. She's in perfect control.
Oh, that takes a lot of nerve. I couldn't do it.
She's reached the bend.
Give them their heads, Ron.
Look at her
For
ride.
a second there, I thought she was going to turn over.
She's racing them for all their worth now. If she doesn't break the time record, I miss my guess.
They're on the home stretch now. Look at Rosalind. She's certainly enjoying it.
Fine driving.
Oh, this is wonderful.
Oh, wonderful driving. They're over the line. What was the time of that, Eddie?
5 seconds under the record, Brandon.
Oh, if she drives him like that tomorrow, she's a sure winner.
Oh, look, Jim, even her husband is pleased.
Oh, that's easy to understand. Horses are Burke's great love. He has quite a stable of his own. In fact, I'd be willing to bet he's down here trying to buy a few of George Felden's prize winners.
Come on, Jim. Let's go over and congratulate Rosalind.
Oh, George, before we go back to the house, I'd like to have a look at that new bay stallion of yours.
Well, all right, Burke, but let me warn you, Demon's not for sale. I want that clearly understood.
Don't worry, George. I don't want to buy him. Now, if he were a flat racer instead of a steeplechaser, I might be interested. Even though he does have the reputation of being a man-killer.
Well, Demon's a thoroughbred. He's precious and sensitive, excitable, but he has a great staying power.
I hear he has a fine head.
Personally, I think he's just as great a racehorse as Herod and Eclipse.
That's mighty fast company, George. How about letting me take him out for a run in the morning?
Well, if you think you can handle him, you're welcome to try.
No horse has ever thrown me yet, George.
Well, before you mount Demon, you'd better see that your insurance is paid up. Oh, right this way. Demon's stall is over here.
You see, Harold, these heavy strokes in your handwriting show that you're determined, even headstrong. And that white spacing of your letters, it means that you're generous.
Rosalind, dear, anytime I'm suffering from a deflated ego, I'll have you read my handwriting.
Oh, I know you think handwriting analysis is just a parlor trick, but there's really quite a lot of truth in it, Harold.
No doubt. But you know me too well, Roz. You couldn't really give me an unbiased analysis.
Well, I don't know Jim Brandon. Suppose I analyze his writing. Fern can judge whether I'm right or wrong. Come on, Jim.
I'm a detective. I can't afford to have my writing analyzed. It might give away my secrets.
I'd like that.
Rosalind, I thought all these stories I used to read in the papers about your being a handwriting expert were just so much publicity.
Oh, I just play around at it, Fern. I'm a rank amateur, really.
How about a dance, Roz? There's music in the drawing room.
Oh, wonderful idea, Harold. Excuse us, please. I want you to teach me that new step.
Gosh, Jim, Rosalind is just as fascinating off stage as on.
Yes, she has the rare combination of beauty and brains.
And it seems as if every man here is in love with her.
Well, that statement is a little too inclusive, young lady. But there's some truth in what you say.
Her husband is terribly jealous, too. I can tell by the way he watches her.
Now, don't let that romantic imagination of yours take wings. Rosalind has known all these people for a long time.
Well, I know that she and Eddie Woods are old friends, but who was Harold Lansbury?
He wrote and produced the last play in which Rosalind and Eddie starred.
What about George Felden, our host? Is he an old friend of hers, too?
No, he's Burke's friend. Their mutual interest is horses.
Well, I guess that brings me up to date on the guest list.
All right, then. How about a walk on the terrace before tea?
Sold, Mr. Brandon.
Well, Rosalind, have you spoken to that husband of yours about the money?
Not yet, Harold. Frankly, I'm finding it very difficult to muster up the courage.
Well, don't tell me you're going to back out now, after getting George to invite us all down here for the express purpose of softening him up.
No. I'm going to carry out my part of the bargain.
Well, the longer you put it off, the harder it'll be. I can't wait much longer, Rosalind. I have to give my play into rehearsal if it's going to be produced this season.
I know. You've been sweet to wait as long as you have.
Well, it's the perfect vehicle for you, Rosalind. Actually, I wrote it with you in mind.
I know you did, Harold. Oh, the part's wonderful. I'd adore playing it.
The backing's the only thing that's holding us up. If you can persuade that contrarian, narrow-minded man you married to loosen up his purse strings...
Oh, Harold, don't start on Burke again. I know you hate him. But after all, you can't expect him to look at these things the same way we do.
Well, I don't see how you can stand it. For 2 whole years, Burke stood between you and your career. Can't you see that if he cared anything at all about you, he'd want to see you happy? Why, Roz, the theater's the very breath of life to you. You were a fool ever to think you could give it up.
Yes, I realize that now.
Well, if you don't want your public to forget you, you'd better make up your mind. A lot of young stars are beginning to blossom out.
I'll do my best to convince Burke that your play is a good investment. If I can persuade him to put up the money, then he'll be one of us. He'll have an interest in my work, and maybe
please, Roz, don't give me that one little happy family routine. Even if Burke does put up the money, keep him away from me. Every time I look at him, I get the urge to commit assault and
My
battery.
husband certainly isn't very popular with my friends.
He's the villain for my money. When are you going to speak to him?
Right away. But I'll have to talk it over with Eddie first.
Why?
Well, naturally, I'd want Eddie for my leading man.
Well, you could do much better, Roz. Eddie's on the skids.
No. It's both of us or nothing.
Oh, all right. The leading man's a stooge in this play anyway.
It's settled then. I'll get a hold of Eddie and we'll go to Burke together.
Burke, this play of Harold's is sure fire. It can't miss. Why, if I had the money, I wouldn't hesitate a second to put
Probably not, Woods. That's the reason you have no money.
Let me handle this, Eddie.
Okay.
Burke, listen. This chance means everything to me. This play would put me right back up on top.
Rosalind, you agreed when we were married to give up the theater. I'm holding you to that agreement.
I know. I've tried, Burke. Honestly, I have. But the theater's in my blood. I can't be happy away from the stage.
It simply comes to a choice between us, then.
It doesn't have to, Burke. If you'd be reasonable and
yes, of course. If I'd be reasonable and invest a small fortune in a play for you, you'd be willing to put up with me.
You're just being nasty. It all boils down to the fact that you're too tight and mean to invest your money in anything that would bring happiness to people.
Now, just a minute. You're not on the stage now, and there's no one in the gallery.
I mean every word I'm saying.
And so do I. I'm not putting one penny into any theatrical venture that you or anybody else is interested in. Kindly inform your friends of that and tell them to keep away from me.
Why, you penny
Eddie,
pinching...
you keep out of this. Leave us alone for a minute.
If you say so, Roz. But I'd like to take a swing at that...
Wait for me outside, Eddie.
All right. But don't let him bully you.
Well, Burke, time has come for us to straighten out a few things.
Yes, it certainly has.
I've made up my mind to go back on the stage. I was hoping you'd understand. That we could work things out. But if we can't...
We can't. This is the parting of the ways. I can't say I'm sorry.
I guess there's nothing more to be said then.
Oh, yes, there is. I want to make it clear that I intend to arrange my affairs in such a way that not 1 cent will get into your hands. I'm giving you your grease paint, Rosalind, but that's all I'm giving you. George, I'd certainly be disappointed if Demon doesn't live up to his name.
Well, it'll give you a run for your money, Burke. Don't worry about that.
Say, George, I want to speak to you privately about something. We've known each other for a long time. I know I can trust you. I'd like you to do me a favor.
Anything, Burke.
If Rosalind approaches you for money to back her play, I want you to refuse.
Well, she approached me some weeks ago, Burke, but I have all my money tied up in horses. Anyway, I knew how you felt about the whole thing.
Thanks, George. You always were true blue. That's why I've willed you my entire stables.
You what?
Yeah. Of course, you'll have to outlive me to collect.
Well, guess that's not very likely. Oh, there's Demon's stall, Burke. He's already saddled. While you bring him out and get acquainted, I'll have the groom saddle my horse. I've decided to take a canter.
Oh, good. Hurry, though, or the best part of the morning will be gone.
Right.
Well, Demon, I'm going to give you a chance to show me what you can do this morning. How do you feel about jumping a few fences, boy? All right, come on. Out of your stall. Easy now. Easy, does it, boy? Easy. There you are. Hard to handle, aren't you? Whoa, steady, Demon. Steady, boy. Stay back. No. Get away from me.
now, back to the Avenger and the Thoroughbred murder.
Back in your stall. Easy now, boy. Easy. Back up there. Come on, back up. Get in there. There we are.
What happened, George?
It's Burke, Brandon. The stallion trampled him. I warned him Demon was dangerous, but he insisted upon riding him. I'll call the doctor.
Wait. Burke's dead, George.
Dead?
We'll have to call the sheriff.
But, George, where were you when this awful thing happened?
Well, I was on the other side of the stable having my horse saddled. Oh, Eddie, believe me, I never dreamed Demon was as dangerous as that.
Yeah, it was horrible, all right.
Tell me, where's Rosalind?
Fern and Harold took her upstairs. She's hysterical.
Oh, here comes Brandon now. Say, the sheriff isn't with him, though.
That's strange. I thought the sheriff would want to question you. Where's the sheriff, Jim?
He had to go back to town to file his report. We're all to hold ourselves available for questioning.
But I think it would be better if we could get Rosalind out of here.
I'm sorry, Eddie, but none of us can leave here until tomorrow at least.
These hick policemen.
Well, my next move is to get rid of Demon. There's no sense having a dangerous animal like that around.
I'd wait until all this is over, George. I strapped one of Demon's forelegs under him and locked him in a stall. He can't do any harm.
Well, good work, Jim. Horse can't kick unless both his forelegs are free. You know, I simply can't understand how an experienced turfman like Burke could allow himself to be kicked to death by a horse.
It is strange, George. Strange beyond all understanding. That is why I'd like you to assemble all your guests. I have an announcement to make to them.
Sit here, Rosalind. Jim will be here in a minute.
What is it, Fern? Why have we been called together like this? Has something else happened?
Oh, I don't know any more about it than you do. Oh, here's Jim now.
Is everybody here?
Yes, Jim. All my guests, 4 servants, and the groom who was on duty this morning.
I'll come straight to the point, then. I thought all of you would be interested to know that the sheriff hasn't listed the death of William Burke as accidental.
What? Not accidental? Well, just what do you mean, Jim?
Just this. Someone in this room, besides myself, knows that William Burke was murdered.
Well, that's ridiculous. I don't see how it could possibly
Just
happen.
a moment, please. The truth of the matter is that each and every one of us is under suspicion until this case is solved. If anyone leaves these grounds, he will be tracked down and arrested instantly. For the moment, that is all I'm authorized to tell you.
Gosh, Jim, that announcement you made certainly caused a sensation.
Fern, while everyone is out there on the terrace letting off steam, I'm going to make a thorough examination of all their rooms. Come along. I want you to keep watch at the head of the stairs. Nothing at all suspicious in George Felton's room, Fern. No clues in Eddie's room. Rosalind's room reveals nothing at all. I drew another blank in Harold's room.
What now, Jim?
We'll have to change our tactics, Fern, and shift to the offensive.
How do you mean, Jim?
Well, the sheriff only gave me until midnight on this case. Then the local police are going to move in.
That doesn't give you much time.
No. So we'll have to force our murderer into a tight position. Make him do something he hadn't counted on.
Oh, but how can we do that?
While I'm searching the servants' quarters, I want you to go down to the terrace and blandly announce that I've uncovered several clues and have promised the sheriff to deliver his murderer tomorrow.
That will call for some acting.
Well, Fern, you've had a chance to observe a good actress this weekend. Just take a few cues from her.
Okay.
Meet me in the library in an hour. We'll compare notes there.
So, after I read my lines about the clues you're supposed to have, I made a hasty exit and took a walk around the grounds.
Fern, did anyone seem particularly upset by what you said?
They all did, Jim. Everyone acted guilty.
Well, I was afraid of that.
Well, we might as well search this library.
That's already been done. I gave this place a good going over before we searched upstairs. Well, wait a minute. There's something different about this desk.
Different?
Yes, it's this desk blotter. Someone's put a clean one here within the last 2 hours.
Oh, that's odd. Oh, Jim, look. It's just been reversed. There's quite a lot of blotted writing on the other side.
And very interesting, too. Lend me your mirror, Fern.
Here. Can you make out anything, Jim?
Yes. The name of George Felden has been written several times since I last saw this blotter.
Not particularly unusual when you stop to consider this is his library.
There's something else here. Why, it's George Felden's confession, Fern.
His confession?
Yes, I can make out part of it very clearly. According to this, he encouraged Demon to trample Burke to death.
Oh, somehow I didn't think George Felden was guilty.
Whether he's guilty or not, I have some good reasons for doubting he wrote this confession.
Why, Jim?
If George Felden did write this, why should he bother to reverse the blotter? And why should he write and blot his name several times when the confession is signed only once?
Oh, I don't know. I'm completely lost. Jim, what was that you just hid in your handkerchief?
A small piece of fingernail. Another reason why I don't believe Felden wrote this. There's still another, but that will have to wait because that was the clue that told me Burke was murdered.
Jim, I asked you to come to my room so that we could have a private talk.
I'm glad you did, George. I've been hoping for a chance to speak with you. You talk first. What's on your mind?
Well, Fern told us early this afternoon that you knew who murdered Burke. Now, if that's so, why haven't you exposed the killer?
Frankly, I wasn't sure who the killer was then, but I am now. I'm waiting for the sheriff. He'll be here any moment.
Oh.
Also, there's a plot against your life, George.
What? Against me? Say, what are you talking about, Jim?
Someone intends to kill you tonight.
Well, I hope you're planning to do something about it.
Yes, I intend to prevent it.
Well, that's a relief. Whew. Say, I could stand a drink. How about you, Jim?
No, thanks.
Well, I'll ring for something.
Well, there's a drink already mixed here on your table.
Well, good old Roberts. Even murder doesn't make him forget my nightcap. Hand it over, Jim. I certainly need it.
Say, this drink doesn't have a true color. George, is your butler in the habit of leaving a drink here for you every night?
Always. Why?
Well, tonight somebody dropped some poison in your drink, George.
Poison?
Offhand, I'd say it's been dosed with a goodly portion of some sort of mercuric compound.
Oh, Jim, you've got to get to the bottom of this.
All right. When the sheriff arrives, we're going to accuse you of murder.
What? Say, what are you talking about? Well, you must be mad as a
Take
hatter,
it easy,
Jim.
George.
I had nothing to...
Take it easy. That's the way I mean to trap the killer. Now listen carefully. The sheriff and I will pretend to believe that you murdered Burke. And that's the whole story, Sheriff. Everyone's waiting for you in the drawing room. Go in and put on your act.
Mean you're not coming in to see the fireworks?
No, I've got to pack. I'm taking the 1 o'clock train back to the city. You can take the bows on this, Sheriff.
Quiet. Quiet, everyone. Quiet, please. George Felden, as sheriff of this township, I'm arresting you for the murder of William Burke. Yes, and I'm warning you that anything you say can be used against you.
Oh, this is ridiculous, Sheriff.
Mrs. Burke, I know what I'm doing. Felden is guilty.
I don't believe it. Georgia, I'll help you fight this. I'll go and call my lawyer right away. He'll come down here immediately and handle everything for you.
Don't touch that glass, Rosalind Burke.
Who said that? Who's in here?
It's the Avenger, Rosalind. I've been waiting for you.
Waiting for me?
Yes. I know you plan to poison George Felden tonight and make it look like guilty suicide.
You'd have a hard time proving that.
I don't think so. Your very presence in this room condemns you. Not only that, you have Felden's confession to your husband's murder there in your purse. You wrote it early this afternoon in the library.
What sort of ghost are you that you know what I've done?
I'll tell you more. When your little plan to kill George failed, you came back here to get rid of that telltale poison. And that was the greatest mistake you made.
Where are you? I'll silence you, Avenger.
The sheriff is awaiting you, Rosalind. Open the door. It's time for your last curtain call.
No, I don't believe you. This is some sort of joke. I'll call your bluff. It's true.
All right, Mrs. Burke. Come quietly. Charge is murder.
Well, Fern, how do you like riding a coach and four?
Oh, it's wonderful, Jim. Thanks an awful lot for letting me persuade you to stay over an extra day.
Well, this weekend turned out badly for you. You planned on doing a lot of riding, and instead you got mixed up in a murder.
Oh, Jim, stop the horses a minute. There are a few points on that murder you've got to clear up for me.
Whoa there! Whoa! Okay, Fern, shoot.
First, how were you so sure Rosalind was guilty?
Well, Rosalind was something of an expert at handwriting, as she demonstrated the other day. So she was the logical one to suspect of writing that false confession. In addition to that, she had practiced writing the name George Felden several times. Then I found a small piece of red lacquered fingernail, which she must have broken when she reversed the blotter. Later, I checked on that and found that the nail on her right forefinger was much shorter than the others.
Do you mean to tell me Rosalind came down here for the weekend planning to commit 2 murders?
No. Her original plan was to murder her husband, and that only if he refused to back her play. He did refuse, so she killed him. If we hadn't tumbled to the fact that his death wasn't accidental, she would have collected enough insurance to back her own play.
Then why did she decide to get rid of George?
When I announced that we knew Burke had been murdered, she decided to pin the crime on George and shut him up. She planned to poison him and leave the confession in his room. She was certain his suicide would close the case.
Wait a minute, Jim. I forgot to ask you the most important thing. How did you know Burke was murdered?
Well, Fern, a horse always kicks up. But the marks of the horseshoe on Burke's face and body were down. Rosalind nailed a horseshoe on a board and waited for Burke in Demon's stall. She was a strong woman, as you know, and she hit him quickly and repeatedly. But her mistake was in the position of the horseshoe. The open end of it should have been toward the top of the board. She nailed it with the open end down, and that told me it was murder.
Then she made another mistake, because you didn't reveal that you knew how Burke was murdered.
Yes, in that confession she wrote for George, she had him admitting that he had let Demon kick Burke to death. I knew Burke couldn't have died that way, so the confession had to be phony.
Well, that takes care of everything.
Good. Let's continue with our ride. Here, Fern, take the reins.
Oh, no, Jim.
Oh, go on, take them.
Oh, no.
Let me see how you can handle these bays.
Oh, no.
Take them. If you're good enough, I'll enter you in the fair next year. Get up there!
All characters, names, places, and plots used in the Avenger program are fictitious. Any similarity to persons living or dead is purely coincidental.
This is a thought. A thought. A thought. Remember, listen for another adventure of...
The Avenger.
That's it for this episode of the Relic Radio Show. I'll be back next Tuesday with another hour. In between now and then, you can find more from the Whistler, the Avenger, this podcast, all the others, and everything else Relic Radio at the website, relicradio.com. Shoutcast Stream is up and running there, and you can donate through the website if you'd like to help support this and all of the shows. You are what make all of this possible. Thanks to those who have helped out, and thank you for joining me today. I'll be back next Tuesday with another episode of the Relic Radio Show.